Hey everybody, and welcome back to Cricket Chicken. Welcome back to another Daryl Dixon review. It was the season finale of season 1. It was a hell of an episode, and I just got some talking points I want to go through with you guys and just get into the episode a little bit and just kind of talk about what I think we can expect from season 2, which is completely in full swing, and we even got a season 2 teaser at the end of this one, so I'm pretty excited to go through all this with you guys. But this episode, it kind of opens up kind of differently and not how you would expect. We see soldiers dead on this beach, and we hear gunfire and explosions going all around. Now, the attire and everything, the scenery that we can kind of pick up from this, we can tell that this is a World War II thing. This is on the Normandy beach in France, and one of the soldiers they kind of focus in on, and then we hear someone scream Dixon in the background, so we can assume this is Daryl's family, just kind of giving another subplot to this episode. And then we cut to present day, and here we pick up with the Walker fight that Daryl's involved in, and this Walker is very aggressive and nasty, and just, it's coming at Daryl. But Daryl being Daryl, he is completely prepared to deal with whatever's coming his way. Daryl snuffs out this Walker pretty quickly, and we see that Madame Genet is not impressed, and she's not really happy with the outcome. She was hoping that she would get her bloody fight and her bloody show for all these people that she's riled up and everything else. But as Daryl takes out this Walker and she just is met with complete disappointment, we think it's over, but then Quinn is marched in there and chained to Daryl. Now we assume that Daryl and Quinn are going to have to fight each other. They do too. They immediately pick up the arms that are presented to them and they're going to go at it. But then we see other Walkers revealed around the arena with spotlights, and they're chained up, and then they are shot and injected with these mixtures or whatever the hell they are. And it kind of adds some comedy to the moments where we see one of the Walkers, as he's spasming and everything, his head just explodes. So that was kind of funny. And then they release all the others, and randomly another Walker attacks one of the others, kills it. And so we have these two Walkers that were just taken out. They were not part of the plan, I guess, to take out Daryl and Quinn. But then Daryl and Quinn kind of work together, and Quinn kind of has this redeeming kind of moment where he actually tries to help Daryl when Daryl gets pinned down by another Walker. And it's with this that he's trying to take out this Walker. He keeps striking it in the head, but it has a steel cap on its head. And then he's attacked from behind by the other. And we don't see it in the moment, but he actually does get bitten. And it kind of plays into further redeeming himself in a few scenes later. But they go on to defeat the Walkers, and we can see that Madame Genet at this point has completely lost this crowd that she riled up and tried to get on her side and all of that. And with this, we see Daryl pick up the decapitated head of one of these Walkers and actually throw it at her, which she's totally not expecting, and further gets the crowd on Daryl's side. They want to see more. They start chanting his name, and just, it's a moment that she did not expect to happen and just completely fucks everything up for her. And so, doing what sore losers often do, she immediately tries to have him killed by one of the guards out on the crowd side, tries to have him shot. Then we see what I kind of discussed in my last review. It's Falou and Sylvie and her new boyfriend, still can't remember his name, but we saw them in the last episode. They were trying to get in this. Now, we didn't know if they were prisoners or what it was, but it turns out they're just spectators like everybody else. Apparently, she's opened this arena fight up to anybody who wants to come in and see it. But they get in, they manage to sneak in weapons, and right as Daryl's about to be shot, Falou takes out this guy, and it causes chaos and panic and a perfect opportune moment for Daryl and Quinn to get out. They seize this moment, they get out, and it's just a whole thing of Madame Genet didn't know how these people got weapons in, and it creates the perfect moment to create this chaos and help get Daryl and Quinn out of the situation. But when this all happens, we see Isabelle and Laurent are whisked away by her men and taken to a cell because they still were under her guard or whatever. And when they're put in this cell, Laurent, is not sure how they're going to get out of it, but then Isabelle kind of reveals a leftover skill from her party girl days. She has managed to lift the key off one of the guards, and they get themselves out. But it's kind of a short-lived celebration because they get out and they come across Quinn, who has since turned. And it's kind of a recall back to that dream that Daryl had a couple episodes ago where he's behind that locked gate and he can't get to Laurent, but instead of Laurent just sitting there mindlessly praying and the walkers go around him or whatever, Daryl tells him that he has to kill Quinn because he's coming after Isabel. He's about to bite her, and then he tells him that God loves him or God will forgive him for doing these things, and he takes out Quinn / his father, and he doesn't know how to take it right at first. It's an interesting moment just to see that Laurent, even though being a God-fearing child and brought up in the abbey with all these nuns, he's still willing to do what he has to do to protect the people he loves. Granted, with the help of Daryl kind of coaxing him on, saying this is what you have to do or Isabel's going to die. So he takes out Walker Quinn, and it was just a surprising moment, but we can see that it did change Laurent a little bit. We get a little bit more of that kind of indication in another scene coming up. But it was well played out. And so later in that scene, when they have since escaped, Laurent kind of repeats what Daryl says, that sometimes you have to do horrible things that you don't want to do, but God forgives you anyway. And so we can see that he is kind of damaged from this moment. But one thing that I did not see coming in this episode that I really enjoyed was after Daryl and them, they made their escape and they're driving a truck that they stole from this compound. It inevitably breaks down and they're pulled off to the side of the road fixing it. Daryl's underneath the car trying to service it and get it running again. He's talking to Isabel this whole time, and then suddenly she stops responding. He gets out from underneath the truck. He sees that Condron has tracked him down, and he is with a few of Madame Gene's men, and they are on direct orders to kill Laurent and that entire group. They're not to be taken prisoner or anything like that. And you can see that Condron has some doubt in his eyes about this situation. This is kind of referring back to my breakdown of the teaser for this episode. I kind of called it where you can see that Condron has doubt in his eyes about him pointing the gun, but what we don't see in that teaser is he's actually pointing the gun at Laurent because he's been told that he has to kill him, but he's not so sure about it. So Condron kind of has a real redeeming moment where he's being egged on by these men that he has to kill this kid, and he just can't bring himself to do it. So in turn, he kills all of these men, sparing Laurent and Daryl and everybody. And we can see that Condron still has an axe to grind, I guess, with Daryl, because he still wants to get him back for killing his brother, but he just simply says, not today. So he has taken into account that he's not going to kill this kid. He's kind of taken pity on the situation and shown a different side of him that we didn't see. Now this kind of goes against what I believed Condron's role would be. I thought he would be just an all-around run-of-the-mill villain that Daryl had fought twice before. He had shot at him, he had gotten into a wrestling match with him, almost killed him both times, so I thought this third time around that Daryl would get into this fight with him and he would actually kill him. But Condron turns around and completely 180s his decision-making and reveals himself to actually be a decent person. And he sees that they are heading to the nest. Now he has his pocket watch. I'm not sure if this is what he had on him or if he picked it up off one of the other members of the group, but he sees that's the picture of the nest. It's this giant fortress. And he says, burn the truck, it's too easy to track. And he leaves them completely unharmed. And later he is picked up and questioned by Jeanette's men and herself. And he tries to spin this story that they were ambushed and they got away, all while killing all of her men. But she sees right through it, and she says that you can tell the eyes of a liar. She gives him this little anecdote that she had dealt with such situations before, that she can tell when someone's lying and when they're telling the truth. And surprisingly, he doesn't give up any information. He is actually taken away, and we don't see him again. And the rest of the episode is Daryl and the group getting to the nest, and we meet some of the people within that organization. And we see that Daryl has fulfilled his end of the deal, and he's still on the journey to get home. And we meet another guy within there who Daryl realizes that he's from the States. This guy had come over for some sort of classes or whatever during the 90s and apparently had just stayed there. But he lets him know that there is a man who can get you where you need to be. He can get you to London, and then from London, other people can get you where you want to, clear over to, I want to say, Nova Scotia. And so Daryl follows through on what he said he was going to do. He's going to leave. And it's much to the disappointment of Isabel, because you can tell between probably these last couple episodes that she's really kind of developed romantic feelings for him. And Daryl, being Daryl, he's not really reciprocating it, but you can tell that he is thinking it, that he is liking the idea that there is this person that he cares about, that he could see himself being with, and knowing that she is a good person, but he wants to get home more. So he sticks around for a few days, helps train these people in using guns in case they are attacked, and then he kind of sneaks out a few days later, being caught by Isabel, but he does not say goodbye to Laurent. He makes his way, and this is where it kind of goes back to the beginning of the episode, where we see him traveling through these different areas, and he gets back to what we can see as the pickup point, because we can see a boat off in the distance of the shore, and this is Normandy Beach, and there's all these gravestones lying around, and Daryl had told Isabel early in the episode that his grandfather actually came to France during World War II. He died here. He never came back home, and that's part of the reason that his father raised him the way he did, that he was such a traumatizing person and was neglectful and just beat Daryl and just was an all-around piece of shit to him, being a shitty dad. He was either there or he wasn't, and he was a drunk and a drug addict and just all these different things. And we can see that even though Daryl doesn't care for his upbringing, he believes that because his grandfather went off and died, didn't come home, it causes chain reaction of events of how he was brought up and how Merle was brought up. And so with this moment that Daryl's on this beach, he comes across all these headstones and he realizes his grandfather's here. He searches for him frantically. He comes across him and he kind of has an emotional moment where he starts to cry, and then he sees the boat coming in closer. He gets its attention, and then when he gets its attention, all these walkers just randomly start popping up everywhere. They're in the tall grass, they're in under rocks or whatever along the beach. So Daryl does his thing, takes care of the walkers that he needs to get down to the beach. Laurent pops up out of nowhere, and he's on this rock. Still plenty of walkers coming at him, and just in some ways kind of pissing me off, because like this kid couldn't take a hint, but I understand too, because he cares about Daryl and Daryl cares about him and realizes that he needs his help and to kind of be there for him, because he did have to just kill his own dad days prior. And so it's irritating, but at the same time I get it. And so it kind of cuts off there, and we jump back to what is clearly the States. We see this guy riding up the street on Daryl's bike. And then we see a car speeding up behind him. And this is the cameo that we all knew was coming because of the leaks and everything that we'd got previously. But this car speeds up behind this bike. This guy takes off and then kind of takes a sudden stop, shoots at the car, and then comes to a stop. This guy approaches the car. Carol gets out, explains to him that she's looking for his friend. You're driving his bike. I want to know where you got it and where he is. And at first, of course, he's going to be kind of resisting the questioning. And then he approaches her with his gun drawn, saying, get out of the car, I'm going to go through your shit. He's basically going to rob her. And she blindsides him with a wrench. And then moments later, she wakes him up, questions him again. He tells her about the trading post down the road. And so Carol is on her way. She's on her way to find Daryl. And as we knew that she would, she's going to do everything she can to track him down. She wants to find her friend. And so we're going to see the chain of events that gets her over to France. And hopefully the whole next season maybe, because I'm not sure how many seasons they plan on doing this, because it has been revealed that they are putting a reunion crossover spinoff series into production, or at least it's in pre-production. The plans are being made. So I could easily see maybe this going a couple more seasons before they put that into effect, because the big plan, I think, is to bring all these characters back together. And so hopefully next season, or maybe the season after, will be the focus on getting Daryl back home, or maybe they get hung up somewhere and someone else comes find them. It's just no telling at this point what direction they're going to take this. But Carol is definitely on her way to find Daryl and bring that team back together. And I can't wait to see what kind of chaos that she's going to cause along the way, because we all know that Carol's not to be fucked with. And so I can't wait to see the measures that she'll take to find Daryl, because she's not going to stop. We all know that. So kind of closing thoughts, I guess, the episode was amazing. This whole season was something that The Walking Dead flagship show was lacking for a long time. Even Fear the Walking Dead, a lot of people will agree that that show has been up and down, mostly down for the last few years. But this, between the variants, the new locations, and just the new characters, it really set Daryl apart away from what The Walking Dead has been and just made it all its own show. And just with this new adventure, it's better than it's been in a long time. So I'm really happy they did this, because coming from a show that we weren't sure about, it really exceeded expectations on every front. And kind of one little nugget of information that was revealed during Isabel and Daryl's parting was that the drawing that we saw in the first episode that she claimed Laurent had drawn days earlier was actually drawn shortly after Daryl arrived at the Abbey. So it was all kind of a manipulation to get Daryl to lead them to the nest and get everyone to safety. But we can see that Isabel does not have any nefarious intentions. She's not a bad person. She just was on this mission, and she was willing to do what she had to complete it. But anyways, guys, I think that will do it. It was a hell of an episode, hell of a season. I can't wait for the next one, and I'll do a breakdown of the season teaser that we got for next year. But I think that will do it for now, guys. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I guess I'll see you next time, guys. Take care. Bye.